Still had to show us what he said. There was a couple of emails going around. I tend to hit reply all whenever can.
Yeah, there was some that got returned.
Yeah,
I sent you an
I
email.
had 4 or 5.
Yeah, I think with Brad, I think he retired from DHL, so he's probably got something else now. I'm pretty sure he doesn't work there anymore. Retired. Last meeting, Brad.
I saw the list up.
Oh, right.
I responded.
Rich Leonard and I would suggest that we move ahead with the agenda. I mean, I think everybody kind of like this. I can send you our email address, which is out there.
Okay, yeah. All right, well, if everybody's ready, just quick introduction. Are we good on video?
Yep.
Thank you. I'm Rabbit for Company. Was hired to make the building run well, and we do my best at that. Anybody have any questions? The main points of this meeting tonight, I just discussed the financial condition of the property. When I took over, it had $80 in the account. The good news is right now it has about $11,600. We haven't increased our liabilities in terms of EO elevator or anything. None of those have really gone up. We have not aggressively paid them down either. I felt like it was much more important to have a little bit of cash, a lifeblood of any business in the account, so we could facilitate some of those things. There is an idea in place for ways to generate a substantial amount of cash, about $75,000. And I'll defect to people that have more specifics on that when we get to that, but it involves parking spaces and taking that asset from the HOA, assigning it to an owner, and creating a reserve fund, as well as opportunities to do Google Fiber in the building, which is something that I've gotten contacted about from multiple people. It's a great asset. Most of the condos around here don't have Google Fiber yet. There's a lot of demand for it. So it can become a marketing point. The best marketing point is to have an HOA with a reserve fund, because every time you want to sell, the first thing they want to ask about the association, what's the financial condition? Right now, poor would be about the nicest thing we could have said about it, but I do feel like it's aggressively moving in the right direction. In the past, there's been issues with dues being paid. We've collected dues from most of the members. The vast majority of the units are being paid on. Specifically, Glenn's written a letter that's included in this. Because of that, I'll go ahead and disclose that Glenn has paid, for the last 2 months on all his dues. Big part of helping get the account.
Now that's in the public record you're stating. Right now you're stating that's out there. We haven't received it, right? Shall you acknowledge we haven't received that, but somehow it's out there? But you just said,
no,
that declared something.
What I declared was I received a check in June as well as July for the dues.
And my point is, we don't know this yet. Is this part of the news of the evening?
Yeah, it is.
Okay, I just wanted to get to a point here. I'm just wanting to get to a point here of who's taking hold of the conversation, say something, and apparently you're representing what Glenn has told you.
I'm sorry I didn't speak quickly enough.
Well, that's why I'm trying to be here. We have a short period of time to do a lot of, covering of topics here. I'm not after a branding.
Okay, thank you. There is detailed financial information. If anybody wants to go through it, you'll see exactly who's paid us money in the last 47 days. That being said, I will turn it over to Glenn. Did you want to talk a little bit more about the plan for raising the funds specifically with the parking spaces?
Do we have the letter that was generated?
Yeah, the Whitehall Board of Directors financial plan letter is included in there.
Okay.
The newsletter of today. Is that a correct statement? Yes, thank you. The newsletter of today.
That was sent out today, yeah.
Okay.
I want to enter that in the record.
Well, actually, it was included in the newsletter of today. There's also a printout as provided.
Yes.
Okay. One of the other things that we're looking at to talk about, to raise that money, the focus of raising that $75,000 is to create a reserve fund of approximately $50,000. It would also generate enough money to pay off the elevator company, pay off the outstanding liabilities. I was given a checkbook with $80 and about $15,000 worth of bills. We're moving in the right direction, selling those or long-term leases on the parking spaces.
Yes, that's a big point of contention that I will talk about later. Go ahead.
Okay.
I'm an expert in that, by the way.
Excellent. I'm glad to be speaking about it. Google Fiber is another point that we wanted to pay for with raising, or the plan was to pay for it with the added funds that would come in that situation. Basically, with this plan, you'll have an HOA that has $50,000 in the bank, and it won't owe anybody any money. That will make units marketable. That'll make Glenn's units marketable, it'll make your unit marketable. If it's not marketable, you really hurt everybody in that situation. So at the end of the day, nobody knows when their job could get transferred and they need to sell. Units need to be marketable, I think. Failure to take action in one way, shape, or form is negligent, both by the board and by members, owners, not suggesting we take action to create a reserve fund. I think is negligent. The elevator went out, $25,000 expense, and there was a really big question of how we're going to pay for this. Luckily, the elevator company was willing to finance to an extent, but
You realize no one manufactures those equipment anymore for the elevator, so they have to go all the way to Jersey for
Yeah.
the generator.
yeah.
And that's because it's a very outdated elevator, and that's not any other.
1923, as I understand it. I saw the carbon all over the elevator room Monday about 12 o'clock when I was in there. Interesting technology. It won't fail.
Antiquated technology. I
Very
think is the way-
antiquated,
yeah.
and carbon all over the walls will do something, causes electrical shorts. It can make switches, you call floor one, but it reroutes the electric on it to floor whatever. The stonework on the front of the building, Glenn offered to repair that. There's been questions and concerns about as to the validity of that, the quality of work, the workmanlike thing. From a maintenance standpoint, the design of the building with the heavier limestone seating into brick isn't ideal. Puts a lot of pressure on the mortar, and of course, 8 stories up, it's not going to get a ton of maintenance, but it does get exposed to the elements. So over 90 years, that mortar will work its way out, shifting, settling, cracks, and then you get a huge liability. You get a 50-pound chunk of stone fall down, pray it doesn't take somebody out with it. But the ideal was, instead of going back with limestone, carving the shape out of a lighter material, a foam, sealed, painted. I'm not an expert in that. I do feel like it would be a good idea to contact experts in that, find out what our options are in that. The upside of when doing the work is there's no expense to the board, to the association, to anybody on that. The downside is if there's questions about the integrity of the repair work, then maybe it would have been better to seek out an expense, a contractor in that situation to get the repair done correctly.
Just for clarification, the loose stones have been removed. They were removed some time ago.
So,
Was the mortar protected though?
No, it's not protected.
So what it is, it's an exposed condition where water is allowed to infiltrate the shell.
right.
And it's
So
been that
it's-
way now for a long time.
It's definitely something I think we should prioritize. The exterior of the building is really, the shell that's going to protect everything on the inside. So it's very important to keep that tight, from a maintenance standpoint. Yeah.
The original stone that fell out was protected, the hole was protected, but the rest of them, the loose stones aren't.
So if everybody wants, I can contact some people that do stonework and find out what they would recommend, what our options are, and then, maybe we'll resend that out to the board, have a vote on it. This was something that was offered for free, which I feel like anytime something's offered for free, it's not something you should just dismiss due to, feelings on other issues possibly. That being said, it is the exterior of the shell of the building. It should be done correctly. It should be done to last for quite a while. There are a number of minor repairs throughout the building that need done. The paint needs touched up in a lot of areas. You go out to the rooftop deck. Those walls, I'm not sure if they're brown, but they're fingerprint dirty everywhere. I think there's stuff splattered on one of them. There's a lot of little things that need done. You've got outlets on just about every level that are either not tight, they're shorted out, not effective. That's a possible fire hazard for the building. Those I really feel like should be looked at by a qualified electrician, whomever, as long as they're certified, insured electrician, to handle that. The doorknobs and the closer on the 4th floor. You brought up a couple things. One of them was already taken care of. I went through the building with the fire marshal last week. We've got a list of the 2 fire extinguishers as well as exit signs on a few floors that either have a burnout bulb or in this case completely missing. We've got a beautiful cover over the original box, but of course I think most intelligent people would realize if they're there that the door's there. But fire codes are what they are, so we got to have that exit sign, and that'll need to be put back in place. that is kind of where it's at. I did provide detailed financial statements. Any charge is listed in the detailed financials. You'll see all payments, you'll see all expenses that have come out. You'll also see that the HOA has taken a net positive position of $11,520 the last 47 days. And we have, there's still $80 in the checking account at Country Club Bank that will be closed out and sent to us. So roughly $11,600. We can choose to pay down debts with that. I personally think in the short term, we shouldn't allow that account to drop below $10,000 just so if there is an emergency issue. Part of the problem with the elevator on Monday, you guys owe me too much money. I'm not going out there until I get a check. So you have to show up, give them a check. Of course, everybody has lives, so if I don't happen to be here with a checkbook waiting, it ends up being Monday when it gets fixed as opposed to Sunday afternoon. And that's an inconvenience to everybody in the building. So we need to get those gone. That is something I think we should address.
Any other issues?
I'm open to comments on other issues.
Let's talk about a couple things. We still haven't had the annual meeting. Bylaw, or actually the declaration states it very clearly it's supposed to be the first week of June.
Right.
We still haven't had that meeting.
Yeah, I was also notified that I think it's supposed to be 21 days, so
Yep.
I'm not sure
It's
why it
a
wasn't.
pain in the ass,
scheduled,
it's a pain in the ass, it's
Right.
just, this is the way it's done in order to give everyone proper notification.
Right.
Second of all, we have an issue with the board where Glenn was only able to appoint one individual, the second individual, that it has to be voted on. That's a vote of the HOA. So right now, we have 2 appointees on the board. That's not really, some people that hired you.
Not really in compliance with the bylaws.
The people that hired
The
you. are
declaration
not-
of condominium, as I would cite it.
Yeah, so these are issues that, I mean, you can talk to the board about, but they need to get resolved ASAP, period.
That issue and my back due issues are in ongoing litigation. Can we agree on that?
No, we can't.
We really can't, because that's putting off the discussion that the homeowners association needs to have.
The back issue, the back dues, that's a whole other issue. We're not gonna talk about that here.
Okay, that's great, that's
But-
fine with me.
But the
Well, I might
board,
have to introduce elements of it, like in the parking situation.
well, the parking.
Like we're talking about getting a cash flow out of the unplatted,
Let's
and
talk
Jackson
about
County
that.
plats,
Can we talk about that?
not in compliance, and I do park there, not in compliance with city code for things like city codes, and we're offering up to lease against whose authority, to be documented, by the way, I'm calling this into question from the product literature I got advertising the program today, whose authority would be exercised when, document who, under whose authority, not only in the bylaws, but against real estate definitions and compliance with city code, and my final statement is buyer beware.
Let's talk about that.
And it's typical of what's been offered by the declarant in the past to transfer responsibility. And Glenn, I'm not against you. I'm just out for my own interest and those of the homeowners association. And by that, I mean it's not you that formed the homeowners association when you became the declarant. I'm talking about we, the people that are the owners. You often talk of having such a big investment here, as if to not even recognize we have a bigger investment in our real ways. These are our homes and other things. So anyhow, I'm sorry to take over the conversation, but that's the only thing I actually had to say in my prepared statement. So thank
Well,
you.
the way,
So actually, thanks so much. I'll check the video tape later. Thanks so much.
Okay, thanks, have a good night.
Love y'all.
I'll email and update everybody with my updated emails. You said you wanted to discuss a little bit more about the parking
Let's talk about
spaces specifically?
Yeah, specifically. I didn't get a chance to read through the whole thing, so if you
Okay.
don't mind briefing us all.
Okay, let me refresh my memory on that. The plan was originally to sell
wouldn't be selling, it would be leasing.
Okay.
Be
lease-
long-term leasing.
Long-term leases, 99, 100-year type leases.
99-year lease. And from everything I can find, it's perfectly, if you lease it month to month, you can lease it long-term for a set amount.
Okay.
13 years I've been around the building, it's always been utilized as parking. Rich probably has a legitimate point, if they're not platted.
Okay.
So they would be, and it would be buyer beware.
All right.
They are not platted spots, but they have always, but they are common area owned by the condominium.
Okay.
And that space is utilized by someone. They're currently leased. And two of the people, Josh and Rich Leonard, were originally on the list to own a parking spot on this side of the building. And this was not a way to undermine or to do anything. These people were on a list to have a parking spot. They currently utilize that parking spot, and David Davis was also on that list. So there's also two other parking spots that are involved that will also, there's also 5 parking spots that would be offered.
Which parking stalls are those? Okay, we're talking about the ones along the side of the building right here.
3 on the side, 1 in the back corner by the neighbor's dumpster, and 1 over in this other parking lot.
So we're talking about 5 unsanctioned, unplatted parking stalls that we're proposing to sell, lease for how much?
Lease.
$10,000? $15,000?
That's what.
Are any of those your stalls? None of those are your stalls, are they? You'd still have your stalls.
They're common area parking spots that would, the money would go to the HOA.
Brad, do you see what's going on here? These are, no, I mean, the map is right there. That's the map that's registered with Jackson County.
Well, it sounds like your concern is the legality of the maneuver in general.
You can't sell something you don't own. And what he's trying to say is a lease. I mean, okay, you can call it what it is, but those aren't platted, those aren't owned. Those are owned by the building. Now, the building right now currently leases those spaces to people
Okay.
on a month-to-month
So
basis.
you're saying that, I think Glenn's point is, if you can lease it for 1 month, why can't you lease it for 12,000 months?
Because I think it's the risk of,
It's
if
the-
you do 15,000, I mean, I'm paying month to month, but what if the city comes tomorrow and say, whoa, nobody can park anymore?
Nobody-
Hang on, then it would just be like, okay, your payments just stop, no more money to the HOA. And it was a means to help out the HOA when we were struggling, and we all voted over here in this room, and that's where he's talking about 4 or 5 of us were on the list to buy spots, and then that dissolved because the bank wouldn't approve it, or the city, or whatever it was. And we all voted, and everybody agreed that that was a fair way to divvy those out, and we were okay paying an extra $100 a month. So now we're just talking about doing it for a long term, put up the money up front. That's what we're saying, that the buyer beware is that it could get replatted, something could happen, and then it's like, then you're out of money out of a certain amount of time.
It's 15 grand. No one's going to buy it. I mean, Glenn sells his units for 15 grand, and that's a platted piece of property. Now, why would someone not buy one as opposed to buy a piece of parking that's not sanctioned by the city?
Yeah.
I want you to understand this. Does that make sense to you?
It does. I see both sides of the equation. Not being a licensed attorney specifically in the field that we're discussing, I think it behooves the association in the big picture, if there's an ability to generate money with anything that the association
You'd be
has.
stealing from somebody. You'd be taking money. You'd be taking $15,000 from nothing. No profit, no real assessment. There's 2 problems over here. Number 1, it's fire lane, okay? A truck needs to be able to get down there. Number 2, it's a 2-way street. You cannot park in a 2-way street. Now, we allow people to park there because we need parking, period. Okay? That's just it, period.
The only difference is you're looking at short-term, long-term. So
I have a question. Is there platted parking spots and then you're talking about unplatted parking spots?
yes.
Or are they all unplatted?
No, we're talking about
It's
the
on the map right there.
unplatted spots.
Where are the platted ones?
Down the
There's-
driveway, right?
There's 2 in the back, and there's 3 on the east side.
That are platted,
Correct.
and you've sold those?
No, I still have 4 of them, and I can't, Baker has the other one, I can't remember his name, Joe.
Valentine.
Joe Valentine has the other one, and then all the garage parking spots are sold,
And they were platted?
yes.
And how many were platted, not the ones downstairs, but up here that were sold?
There's 2 at the end of the driveway,
Kind of
at the end of the alley.
And those have been sold, and was is there some over here?
There's one sold, one that's not, and on the other side, there's three, three that I still have.
So how many are platted that would be available for sale, Glenn?
There's four that'll be available for sale with my two
Platted,
others.
okay. Oh, with a sale.
And that's how it's always, that's how it's
Sure,
always.
I was just wondering what was platted and unplatted, okay. Thank you.
Everyone who bought a two-bedroom had a chance to buy one. Joe Valentine bought one, he bought his.
May I ask how much you're asking for when you sell a two-bedroom? How much are you getting for your?
15,000. That's how much I got for Joe Valentine's. That's the only outside spot sold, and that's how much I got for it.
So the 15 is arbitrary. The 15,000 is arbitrary to lease a piece of land that you will never be able to own. It could be 5,000, it could be 1,000, it could be anything. This whole $75,000 is a shell game. I mean, you can play a game when you want to.
I've got another question then. Speaking of platting, I was told when I bought my units eventually, because I bought two one-bedroom units combined into a two-bedroom, and I was told by Brian Anderson, and I think you remember, that at some point, all these two-bedroom units were going to be replatted from one-bedroom units to one two-bedroom units. At what point is that going to be done, and whenever is that done, to plat the?
Well, I'll try to answer that best I can. There was a replat, which I have the original. There was documents that everyone signed. I have those. There was two signatures that the Andersons were unable to get. And so that plat never happened, along with the replatting of the parking spots. All these parking spots were up to it had already been engineered. I spent $15,000 on doing all that. But because we couldn't get a couple of signatures, it never happened, and then the application process or whatever expired.
Okay,
So it just never happened.
So at this point, two-bedroom units will never be replatted?
Well, not to say never. It can be done if we can, I said the engineering has already been done and paid for, which I think is the expensive part. So no, I think in the future it could be revisited.
But it hasn't. It's been like this for 5 years. No one wants to. No one's taken made the effort to do it. The board has never made the effort to do it.
Well, I'm just asking, if you're going to replat the units upstairs, why not get the parking spaces platted so they can be either sold or leased?
And none of the parking spaces, even the ones in the garage, or the one that Joe Valentine has, they're all space owned by the condominium. They're limited, what they call limited common area. There's no deeds to parking spots, even the ones that are platted. There's no deeds to them. All they are is they're limited common area, which means it's a common area like this, where anyone can walk through it. That is for the specific use of somebody. And since we're leasing these month to month, and have been for years, and two of the people who parked there were on the list that were willing to pay that money to begin with. I thought it was an additional parking spots. But I think it's just what you guys said, it's buyer beware. They're unplatted spots. If you don't want one, if you don't want to take the risk, don't buy one. But I don't think you should be able to keep someone else from doing that, as long as everyone knows that that's what it is. I've never tried to sell them as anything else. When I say sell them, I mean the concept of it. I've never tried to pretend that they're platted spots, they're not.
So if there was a way to get them platted, the idea was the same.
You can get maybe one or two of them platted. I don't know if you get any more. In fact, you can probably get one possible platted. Then one back over here, I don't know if you can size limitations.
That's the idea. I'm a facilitator, I'm not a decision maker.
I don't think you can factor many people take $15,000 for a lease apartment place. They have no money.
Yeah,
So I think the whole fallacy of raising money, I think, we have to get.
well, we also can look at the other equation. If we try and fail, what do we have?
Time.
Doing nothing, doing as well. I feel like there should be some motion to generate a reserve fund for everybody.
It's in the declaration, it's one of the amendments, actually.
Okay.
There should be a motion, and there's a little bit on how to generate a reserve fund.
Well, the main point of tonight was really to discuss our options and what we could do with that. What we could do, Google Fiber, doing those sorts of things. That being said, I feel like we're not in danger of the gas getting shut off in 4 days like when I took over. So I feel like we bought ourselves some time, which is a good thing. That being said,
You realize why we had no money when you took over?
I have no idea what the details.
You realize one person voted against raising money, special assessment of everyone? One person voted against that. That one person had just enough shares to cancel out all the other shares. The whole building wants to raise money. We're trying to help you because we want you to help us. But there's one problem, and if you're not privy to it yet, I'm sure you're going to be real soon.
Anybody, do you have any other topics you wanted to discuss tonight?
I do have one thing. I will say that, I have no interest in doing, I offered to do the stones up there. I thought the board had approved it at one time. I guess maybe I'm mistaken about that.
We did, but we approved it for $16,000 at the time. We found someone that actually do a lot less. And then you said, I don't
Cut
want
the
to do it.
roof. You cut the roof doing it. But anyway, lost my train of thoughts.
Are there anything, other issues that haven't been brought up tonight, dealing specifically with the building and our ability to move forward and position everybody in a better light that we could bring at this time?
I'd just like to say I think you've done a very nice job
Sorry about that.
jumping into a role that's very difficult. I appreciate your efforts to make this a better place.
And we continue to see those efforts. This situation, I kind of stand back and I look at it, and as a whole, I feel like everybody wants the same thing.
Yes.
Which is kind of funny to see so much tension in that situation. And everybody has valid points, everybody's coming at it from a different position.
A lot of us live in
Right, and
a lot of people don't.
see all the different sides of it. I know in a perfect world, Glenn doesn't own any units in this building. He's finished his investment and he's out of the picture. And then so some of the tensions that are here now, hopefully if somebody comes in and buys all the units that he owns and they keep paying dues, are those issues still prevalent at that point? I feel like any HOA needs a reserve fund. Every HOA needs to have basic services provided. And the thought of the gas getting shut off to the building in a matter of days is.
We've been operating under that for almost four and a half years.
You're very wrong.
Yeah, no, we're accustomed to it. It's okay. We're used to it. This is par for the course. This is what has been created here over the last 4 years. Seriously. I mean, we've been doing this now for 4 years.
I believe it was kind of nerve-wracking when I looked at the checkbook and saw this type of bills at the same time.
We tried to raise
Somebody's
money.
not paying it.
Yeah, we tried to raise money and they will opt out. So, I mean, you're talking.
Simple.
And I can't say dues are being paid by Lynn. And so hopefully that will start working towards it.
And they were also being paid last fall, when the bank bills matured in August, the 3-year windows matured in August. I informed the bank that I can no longer do the maintenance, no one's having that anymore, I need to start paying dues. So I started paying dues in September, and since the bank law was left. Of course, that created a situation there. And that's what started the renegotiation process, which is finalized. So I have cash flow. So just for information's sake, nothing more, the balloon note was issued in August of 12. I paid dues in September, October, November. In December, where there was special assessment, litigation, and equipment failure, all in 1 month. So,
I have a question. So does today mark the first day of the 21 days notice for the next meeting?
No, I wouldn't say it does. My thought on that notice should have been sent out by Hunter. I don't know why they didn't do that, they had documentation, and,
We never set that, the board was never together to set that.
and so, you know, if you want, I can send out a broadcast email and say, hey, we want to do this. I mean, I'm not the type of person that gets so bogged down into the lags that I get stuck where I can't solve the problem.
Together.
We can't do anything, the board needs to set the date, the board needs to set the date, and then they also need to understand that you need to elect a new board member to reside on the board. So.
Well, I'll encourage the board to set a date and have it be at least 22 days in the future. It's all the appropriate addresses and emails and phone numbers. If anybody else has anything they'd like to say,
I'd like to say that there was, you know, I don't want to raise timber to start, there was money in the reserve account.
Yeah.
And that's,
Thank you for that, I appreciate your efforts.
there was, when the plateau was voted out, there was close to $15,000 in the reserve account. And I've got a check if anyone would like to see it. I don't think that's enough in the reserve account. There was money in the reserve account when Plateau handed it over. So I'm getting kind of tired of hearing that I never paid dues and that don't contribute and that you know, there was no reserve. It's just not true. Now maybe there's not enough reserve. No, I didn't pay dues the whole time. That was also voted on, and there's a pretty good record of that. So,
the point I'll make tonight, I'll continue to be making is, we have to move forward, one way, shape, or form, we have to move forward. What an HOA needs is it does need a reserve, and everybody was in agreement that it wasn't there. And all the money that's there now is great, but it's probably not enough to really make the building sound association. So I'll continue to encourage everybody to explore.
Have any
options.
units sold lately?
We had a unit, I believe it was either 1C or 3C, I apologize. The gentleman's name is Andrew Ward that bought it. It was one of Agoki's units, last name Agoki.
I've got, I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
That generated a little bit of money in past dues that hadn't been paid, because I think it was in default with mortgage and everything. It paid through the title company, so that generated some money. And then, of course, we got 2 months of dues escrowed to us as well as part of the closing documents. That generated about $3,000 for the association in the last month and a half, as well as, you know, the general total amount of dues coming in each month went up substantially.
Will we be able to have auto index for our homeownership?
Yeah, I have to confirm, we've got great management software that allows you to log in, view financials, make auto payments, one-time payments, view documents, all that. And you can make sure that when I attach the bank account to it, there's not an additional fee for the association. At this time, I don't even want another $9 a month fee coming out. It's more important to get the account where it needs to be. And then, once you have that reserve, you can operate a lot closer to the line. Right now, if we bring in 5,000, we need to spend 3 to put the other 2 aside. And so, I would implore people to kind of hold off on those things if we can. But I don't think we're that far from getting them implemented. And it's a nice asset. You can do maintenance requests to it. So if you notice something, you can do it online. You don't have to even bother with the email. Then you can update those requests through the software and notify you back.
Our homeowners dues the 10th of the month. What is the due date exactly? I don't know.
I haven't fully looked through it. We've got our software auto plugging on the first of the month. Given the transition period, I've kind of just sat back and said who's on board, who's not, followed up with ones that were not, and kind of going that route. For the vast majority of people in the building, total number of units are getting paid, and there's a handful of people that didn't pay that got lost in the shuffle of communication, and I've been confirmed with it. The payment is on its way. Some of them have credits when we took over from Contra, but that credit has eliminated itself. They have small balances. Other people still have a credit. Any other questions? Got time for everybody? I just want to thank everybody for coming.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot. That's
They're here in my home.
See you later.